Hey, welcome back.
Welcome.
This is Healing Uncut. It's a podcast about the messy side of healing.
Yeah. And it's messy.
It says, oh, girl, yes.
I said it's messy. And it's messy. It is.
It is, but it gets better and then it gets worse. It gets better again. A lot of ups and downs, but it's worth it.
It is worth it. It is worth it. It's
How
hard.
you feeling today?
I am feeling good. On the wheel, I picked the word joy.
Okay.
My
Joy.
yes. I love my family bad. And right now, my godsons are here. My cousin,
Yay.
my maid of honor is here. My love. So I am extremely happy. Just extremely happy. And she passed her NCLEX, so
Shout out to the RNs around the world.
thanks. Shout out. So yes, I am experiencing a lot of joy right now. How are you feeling?
Awesome. Um, I'm feeling pretty good. I feel better now. I feel like over the past week, my thoughts were all over the place. Like I've been kind of felt overwhelmed
Yeah.
on a couple of days, but today I feel creative.
Oh,
Um,
that's a new one.
I've been trying to just figure things out, fine tune some things, trying to see exactly where the Lord is leading me, what He wants me to do. Um, and I feel like this keeps leading me to use my gift of creativity. So that's what I've been working on
Yes,
like real hard past week. So I'm still like in that creative space. So hopefully I keep it going.
that's
So I'm excited.
I,
Yeah,
I love that.
long time coming, but we here.
Okay. Enjoy.
Yes,
Be present.
yes,
Enjoy the moment.
exactly. So what's on the agenda today?
Today we are talking about forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. I can forgive, but I'll never forget. Mm.
Mm.
I'm like, that's a whole lot right there.
That's a whole lot. It definitely is. There's a lot to unpack there.
Definitely is. Yikes. Okay, so let's just start. I'll start by saying forgiveness is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is an intentional decision to let go of, those negative feelings, the hurt, the anger, resentment. It's an intentional choice to let that go. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you're excusing them or like giving them a pass for how they hurt you, um, or kind of failed you in whichever way. Um, but it's really you kind of taking ownership and kind of taking control of your life. It's kind of putting you back in control of your life and your like happiness and joy. Kind of taking that away from them and, returning it back to yourself. But that's why it's a choice.
is definitely a choice. It does. I mean, just speaking from experience, I truly do believe that it brings the control back to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer what they did, how they did it. It's no longer about that person. It's definitely about you. And it may or may not lead to feelings of understanding or um, acceptance. May
Right. That's huge.
It may or may not. But I think the biggest thing about forgiveness is that you are putting the control back in your court, and
Mhm.
you are allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to move forward.
Right.
Out, move forward with peace, and bringing the focus back to you and not somebody else.
Right.
You can't control anybody else. So that is very important that you bring that you do forgive, and you do bring the focus back to you.
Hmm.
You can control your actions, your feelings. That is something that you can actually do. So
Right. And it kind of allows you to heal, kind of to either start that process or to continue with that process once you're able to forgive. Um, I think a huge part of forgiveness, like outside of forgiving others or the other people that may have caused you trauma or just hurt,
yeah.
um, is forgiving yourself. I think that is one of the first things that you need to consider when you begin the journey or while you're on the journey. If you feel stuck, or you feel like things aren't working, aren't moving how they're supposed to, then you may need to consider, have you forgiven yourself? And I know that's going to look different for a lot of people, um, but it's definitely you definitely just have to do it. You have to figure out, you know, you have to take ownership for the role that you played in your suffering, um, and it could look like how you responded when you were triggered. You know, that is on you. Although the person may have triggered you or said something that rubbed you the wrong way,
Mhm.
you still got to kind of take control. Will take responsibility for like how you responded, and just forgive yourself for how you showed up in those moments when you were trying to survive.
It's hard. I'm like, it's no easy thing. I honestly think it's easier to forgive others than it is to forgive yourself. Just personally. Um, I know I am my worst critic. I am
Yeah.
judge, jury, police, like all of that. And I am extremely hard on myself. So just throughout my healing journey, I found it easier to forgive others. Um, and and I'm still working on that, forgiving
Yeah.
myself because um still working on it. And just like Dream said, like even now, you can think that you're so far along on this healing journey and then you still respond crazy. Like I thought I was past this,
Hmm.
and I thought I was healed from this, and whatever the thoughts may be. But or even just like, I can't believe I let them get me out of character. I can't
Right.
it is I find it difficult to forgive myself, but Dream is right. You have to, because it's going to hinder your process. Ultimately,
Mhm.
it's going to hinder your process. And if you're not forgiving yourself, how can you show yourself love?
Right.
Like, how can you not be anxious or have anxiety
Hmm.
when you're holding on? Like, holding on to that is, I don't know what the word is, but it's healthy. It's very,
Detrimental to yourself.
it is. And so,
It's like self-sabotage, actually.
here you go. Because I'm grasping for the words.
Yes.
Although it is difficult, like it's an absolute must, because you're gonna eventually you'll get to a space where you're stuck,
Hmm.
and like, why can't I move past this? And so we've talked about being in survival mode and who your younger self had, like, what you did or what you had to do to get to this space now, I um I find like thinking of that because I'm like I'm grateful for where I am now. Almost like wow, I can't believe it because at so many different turns, especially in high school, I could have been somewhere else.
Mm.
Somewhere in a I mean, just in poverty, like who knows where I could have ended up. But we say it all the time. You got to give yourself grace. You have
Yeah.
to give yourself grace. Like, and so I tell myself, like, girl, you did what you had to do. You
Hmm.
did what you had to do.
Right.
You
In order
got,
to protect yourself.
you had to protect yourself. And so
Mhm.
I think that helps when you're trying to forgive yourself and just knowing like there was something within me, there was some kind of strength, even though it may look crazy as I'm older and mature. Um, and not even and even just maturing emotionally
Mhm.
is like yeah, that was crazy, like I was wilding out, but what you needed, some of those things you absolutely needed just so you could get to where you are.
Right. It's definitely a learning process. And, not forgiving yourself, it really does make you, it puts you like in a space to where it's hard to like even trust others, that you're in a relationship with, whereas, a partner or friends. Because deep down inside, you're still holding on to grudges, either for something, that you've done with either in that relationship or something in the past. So it's kind of hard to show up as your authentic self if you're still like carrying that shame. And of course, if you're holding that in, then it's more than likely internally you won't feel that joy deep down inside that people say like they're searching for, or that happiness. Like you're not going to feel it. You're probably going to feel like depressed or just sad. Like your spirit is not going to be strong, and that's going to hinder your healing process. It's going to make it a lot harder. It's going to make it seem like it's impossible, or that it's like a waste of time, like it's not working, when actually it is working, but you just haven't taken the step to forgive yourself, you know? And then you'll be able to understand that you are safe and you trust yourself to
Oh,
make better choices and use those tools in your toolbox, like you'll understand that I've grown and I can see the growth. And I forgive myself for how I responded back then when I didn't know any better. But now I know better, and I'm going to do better. So that hopefully will kind of start the process to forgiveness. I don't think it'll happen overnight, most definitely, but you got to. And but yeah, even going back before, I was gonna say forgiving others. Like I know when I first got separated, it took me quite a while to forgive my ex-husband. Like even after the divorce was final, like, and because I had not forgiven him for how he responded to our separation, or the fact that our marriage was ending, I was easily triggered by him. Like anything he did instantly like messed up my mood. It instantly just made me go from 0 to 100. It didn't matter. He could just look at me wrong, and already I'm just like, mm-mm. So it's just like that wasn't good for me because I'm raising my blood pressure. Like creating stress in my life, and he probably over there good. So it's just like I kind of had to let that hurt go and forgive him for how he responded when he was in his survival mode. And I had to just say, like he probably doesn't know any better. It's like I didn't know any better when I was in that space too. You know, the things that I may have said, the things I may have done. But I think just kind of thinking about that and allowing myself to forgive him, even if I didn't feel it, I just had to like say it and ask God to definitely give me the strength to forgive him. Because right now I don't feel it. And I really don't want to, but I was able to make the conscious decision. Like I had to do it for me. And it actually has worked out. I feel like I can communicate better with him,
Mhm.
a lot better, but it's still, it's a journey. But yeah, that was our little tidbit for the divorcing days. Forgive that person.
You said something you said it was about trust. Oh, trusting yourself. Trusting yourself to I think on the healing journey, you do learn and you do have these tools in your toolbox. And I think what makes it easier to forgive yourself is, and I'm saying like while you're on the healing journey, is knowing that the tools are in there, but it takes time to put them into practice.
Right.
But do have the faith in yourself, trust yourself that it's going to show up, it's going to come out. And it's not overnight. It's not going to happen overnight.
It
But
might be years.
uh, when you do, when you do forgive yourself, when you do begin trusting yourself and you're comfortable in the decisions that you're making, I think that's what's going to lead you to make those better choices. But always know like you're doing the best that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Are doing the best that you can. If you're taking the time to seek therapy, if you're taking the time to find, to do those positive coping skills, and if you're putting the work in, trust yourself to believe that it's going to come out. It'll come out at the right times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be all the time. All the time, you may I did a reel. It's like I'm healing, I'm not healed.
Mm-hmm.
So even those times,
Sometimes I slip.
yes, you may trip up a little bit even in those times, but no, I think it's in the like, okay, so after you trip, it's in the reflection. It's like, yeah, I really wowed out that time.
Mm-hmm.
That's growth to even check yourself, to even come back to that moment. Like, I did not have to respond that way.
Right.
And then, take it further. Like, why did I respond that way?
Mm-hmm.
And then you are able to communicate that. You're making progress. That's progress. That's where I'm at. I can't even because
That's where I'm at too.
man,
Being able to self-reflect and say, I've come a long way. And I will celebrate that
so especially
every time.
relationships when you got to communicate, and me and my husband we bump heads, and it's just like sometimes I'm able to communicate clearly in that moment, and other times it's like, yo,
Not right now, bro.
this ain't gonna. But I'm like, that's growth. That's
Right.
so, you know, forgive yourself, trust yourself, know that it takes time. Like it's going to take time.
Right. We wanted to give you some tips, something to kind of think about as you work on self forgiveness. So we have 4 R's, which are responsibility, remorse, restoration, and renewal.
Mhm.
So we'll kind of tell you what each of them are. You kind of think about them and come back to this and listen to it again. So that way you can kind of see which one you're on, which one you're struggling with. And that way you'll kind of have some goals for your journey.
Mhm.
But the first one is responsibility. So this looks like acceptance, like Chrissy said earlier, practicing accepting. Um, that's huge when you start healing or trying to forgive. So it means accept what happened, um, accept what that person did, what they said, how they showed up for you, how they didn't, or just how you showed up, how you responded. And then, show yourself compassion because that's super important. Um, like we said earlier, just understanding, you responded in that way because that's what's familiar to you. That's how your brain knows how to protect you. It always worked. It worked in the past, so it's just natural that that's what is just going to default to. But as you learn and you add those tools and you practice, it gets better. So just give yourself compassion. Like that's simple. Start there.
The next one is remorse. And it's just saying, just like I was talking about after, so say you were triggered and you didn't respond the way you wanted to respond, use, and you go back and you think about it, use that hurt or that guilt as a way to make positive choices the next time. You you do, and especially when you're on a healing journey, you're like, I'm trying to do better, I'm trying to be better. And
Mhm.
it's okay. You are getting better, you are doing better. So when you have those feelings of remorse, you know, take it, accept it, and then say, I'm going to do better the next time. This time I responded this way. I could change that by responding this way or communicating this so it doesn't have to happen the next time.
Right. The next R is restoration. So this is basically you just figuring out, you know, kind of how are you going to move forward? How are you going to make amends with yourself? How are you going to make amends with the person that, you're trying to forgive? Um, it's just like, what do I do with this information? Are you going to try to like save that relationship with that person? Are you deciding that, this isn't a relationship that I want to be in anymore? Like, I need to remove myself. I need to deny them access. I need to, or maybe I need to think about my boundaries. Like, how were they even allowed to disrespect me in that way? Like, why did I even allow them to be in my life that long? So just kind of start thinking about things like that, or yourself. It's just like, why was I people pleasing for all that time? Like, why was I accepting the bare minimum? Um, why was I doing that? And what I'm gonna do to make sure that that doesn't happen again? Do I need to work on my self love? Do I need to like figure out my value? Do I need to increase my value? Like, what I need to do to to make this better, to move forward? Because that's what's most important. We trying to move forward. We're thinking about we preparing for the future, so that you could be your best self. So
Right.
one more.
And I mean, it really relates very closely to this last one, renewal, where you learn from your experience and you move forward. And how will you move forward? So I think you know, that restoration period where you reflect and you're forgiving. And like Dream said, you're thinking about, is it worth saving? Has boundaries been crossed? That this is not something that I want to do. And you just learn from the experience. You learn from
Mhm.
the experience. I like to say, like, you don't take L's in life. It's not losses, they're lessons. It's lessons.
Mm,
Have a growth mindset to know that you're going to learn. Like any experience that you go through, you learn from that. You learn from that lesson. You grow as a person.
mhm.
You continue forward.
Right. Yes, just remember that they may come at different points. They don't have to be in chronological order. Whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just figure out a way to get it done. Just know that the goal is self-forgiveness. Definitely. At the core of your healing, forgive yourself.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah. So important. A lesson that we all needed to know when we began this journey.
Begin.
Yeah. Because honestly, I never felt like I was gonna be able to forgive anybody, any who hurt me. I'm like,
Mm.
I'm like, I don't know. I really didn't know what that looked like. I mean, I knew we were supposed to forgive people as Christians, but I'm like, I don't see myself forgiving those people that hurt me, like at all.
And it feels like, and I'm like, I'm thinking now, I'm like, I used to struggle with forgiveness because it feels like they getting over.
Mm-hmm.
Like you did this to me and I'm gonna just let you rock. Yeah.
Like, it feel like they trying to punk you or something. Like you soft. Like I ain't no punk. Like nah. They gonna have to see me. Like mm-mm. Like everybody gonna have to pay.
Yeah. And so,
That's definitely what my mom said.
and that goes back to control. Like that, that's the other person having control. Like I gotta get them back. And that anger
Mm-hmm.
built up, like, nah, let me focus on this. Let me figure out how my, and it's like your energy is better spent on you.
Okay. And not matching negative energy. Sometimes you might have to, but once you get to a space of being able to forgive them for who they are, you can work on meeting them with different energy, and it'll confuse the enemy. You know what I'm saying? You gotta match it sometimes, but yeah, I think you might get better outcomes like confusing me. It'll be like,
But
why
you,
should be nice to me?
because, I've read something and it was like, you can still have boundaries and check people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to be passive or anything like that. Like, maintain your
Right.
boundaries, maintain your standards, and be very, stand on it, be very firm on it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people will take, like, that authoritative communication, like when you're letting somebody know, like, it's a no for me. Like, I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to do this, or I'm not going to accept this. But all the
So
all the
yeah.
while, it's very much pleasant. Your spirit is pleasant, and it's like I'm not trying to be nasty. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just being very matter of fact about myself in this situation. And so, yes, you can maintain your boundaries, you can protect your peace, all while communicating what it is that you need to communicate.
Right. And even as a Christian, like take it a step further. You can still stand firm on those boundaries and still be saved. Like, because people will try you once they see that, you're changing your life around either healing or getting close to the Lord. So it's just like this, work on your disclaimers instead of instead of reacting. Just like, you know me for real. Don't do it. You know me from back when. So, yeah.
Even this has nothing to do with anything. It's just that man interrupted you. And I was
Yeah,
just
there
like,
you go.
sir,
That's it.
you see, we doing something.
Yeah, like, okay.
Okay, let me give the What Would Jesus Do segment. And Dream found this one. It's 1 Corinthians 13:4 and 5. As the failure to forgive ourselves hinders our love of others, so our love for others can. facilitate self-forgiveness. I'm gonna read it one more time. As the failure to forgive ourselves hinders our love of others, so our love for others can facilitate self-forgiveness.
Mm.
That's deep.
I look at that as being like, if I know how to like give myself grace and forgive myself and love myself, then I will know how to kind of extend that to others like around me, like when they make mistakes or they hurt me. But I
Mhm.
feel like it kind of does have to start with you, because it's kind of hard to extend stuff to people. If extend stuff to people that you aren't giving to yourself or you haven't learned how to do or comfortable with, I guess. And then you kind of get what you put out. So you want to put out forgiveness. So hopefully, the universe will kind of pour that back into you.
I like that. And like I said earlier, I was opposite, complete opposite. I would hold myself to a standard that I would hold nobody else to.
Me too.
And I had to learn like the same grace you can forgive others, you will let things go with other people.
Let's slide.
Let it slide. And then internally, you will not forgive yourself. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I had to extend the same grace and compassion that I would show for others, the same excuses I would make, whatever the case may be. I
Mm-hmm.
had to do that personally to help me grow on a healing journey. So, whatever end of the spectrum you're on, if you're able to show yourself grace, extend that to others so you can move on. And if it's easier for you to extend that grace and compassion to others, make sure you give it to yourself so
Mm-hmm.
you can truly work on that self-love and self-care.
Right. Let it be the driving force of your healing journey, because you are going to need it along the way. Trust.
Yeah.
And you are going to need it. Set yourself free.
Well, make sure you follow us at Healing Uncut Podcast on on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Apple.
Yes.
Tell a
Let us
friend.
know what you think.
Yes. Let us know. Interact.
Yeah, because I feel like we talking to ourselves. Like,
And
don't ever.
this was needed for me because the way I've been looking at my husband this past week, I'm just like, oh Lord. give
Look,
him
we need those reminders along the way.
give him grace.
I tell you, it's been a journey. That's why I'm like, it don't come overnight. Because
And
I
I
had to definitely pray about that thing. I had to do some real therapy, some interventions. And I'm like, mm-mm.
was looking at him like, you are
I
so
had
smart and just dumb.
to, I think that's a man thing, to be honest. I know this is totally off topic, but I've come to the conclusion that it's just a man thing. Like, I don't get it.
And I was watching now this movie is so dumb. It was called Honk for Jesus. It's on Prime.
Okay, I ain't seen
Gina
it.
Hall, and I forgot the dude name. But she was crying to her mom, like, I don't think I could do this. And she's like, didn't I raise you right? You supposed to go to God in prayer. And she was like, how often do you go to God? And she was like every time. And she
Mm-hmm.
was like, Regina, she was like, so when she was like, does it ever get better? Like, do I do it, do I get a break? And she was like, child, I didn't get a break till your daddy died. And I'm like, I gotta keep forgiving him until he die, Lord. I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah. Like, you got to keep forgiving yourself until you go with the Lord too. So I guess you just learn better ways of coping,
Yes. So
or just ignoring, disassociating, whichever, or whatever you feeling in the moment.
so
You get better at it.
today this is definitely for me because this week been trying. Last week. I'm like, you trying me. You
Ah, part of the process, girl.
We went off on a tangent.
I know we did.
All right.
So, all right, y'all. We'll be back.
Yeah. There you go.